Katie receives the first task. She must secretly choose the 2 least entertaining housemates, based entirely on first impressions.
Hello, Katie.
Hello.
Welcome to the diary room.
Thank you very much.
Katie, can you confirm you've made your 2 choices?
I have 2 people.
The 2 people you've chosen as the least entertaining housemates will face the first public eviction.
Oh, what a shame.
One more thing, Katie. You are about to re-enter the house, but the enchanted mirror has placed a curse on you.
Oh.
From now until further notice, you'll be utterly charming to everyone.
If you think I'm going to be able to be nice to that bunch of idiots that you've selected to share my space with me here in the house, you've got another thing coming. I have a few things to say to them, but I will be nice and I'll smile and say them nicely and I'll pretend to be very fascinated by Cammie's really terrible tattoos.
Katie, know this. Shortly, when your 2 chosen housemates hear their terrible fate, you must be the first to console them, because you are a kind and loving person. No one must discover anything that has happened to you so far this evening, or that you have been cursed. If they do, there will be terrible consequences.
Oh, do I get spanked? No.
Katie gives her true feelings, after being forced to act nice all evening.
The conversations that you're having this evening with your housemates, is that you being yourself, or is this you being kind?
Big Brother told me to be kind, and I have been nothing but kind. I have been interested, I have given people permission to share their stories, I have given people easy ways to explain why they've been a complete dumbass, getting stuff stuck in your face. I have understood and I have said, you know, everybody makes their way. So I have been a very nice person as instructed, but a lot of it is just a load of trot. Because frankly, anyone that gets that face that smashed up, Alicia, is bonkers. You know, that's properly bonkers. And yeah, there's a few others. Perez is going to get told to shut it pretty soon. He's got multiple issues. And then you've got Cammie and Chloe, kind of, they hang out because they've both got boobs, so that's obviously a similarity they can see in each other. That's lovely. So there's a few people that are already on my list for getting a bit of a Hopkins bashing when I feel the need. But at the moment, everyone's best friends and I'm doing what I'm told and I'm being best friends with everyone as well.
Katie is given a final secret task before having her curse lifted.
I have never, ever been seen, known of such a bunch of self-obsessed, self-absorbed, delusional fools. Their life is vegan, soy latte, almond milk, nut roast, tofu eating, vitamin pill supplementing, bollocks.
Katie, who are you finding it hardest to be nice to?
Patsy Kensick. She's just a manic, nervous goon.
And who are the least physically attractive, Katie?
Perez has been on a journey and has lost a lot of weight. So Perez needs to tone. So if he could tone down the volume and turn up his body, that would be a good thing because there's work to be done there. Obviously Ken is an elderly gentleman and has grown portly in stature, but he's rocking that in his blue. So, you know, big up to the Ken.
Well, Katie, today, Big Brother needs you to actually convince your housemates that you are truly nicer than nice by doing a good deed.
Aye, aye, aye. Don't make me be nice to Patsy.
You told Big Brother that Patsy, Perez and Ken were the least attractive housemates.
Yes.
Well, now that you're cursed with kindness, you must hide that opinion and be truly nice to those housemates by giving one of those housemates a foot massage.
Piss off. I really don't like people's feet. Or just spat. I don't like my feet. I don't like other... Patsy's...
Katie has decided to give the foot massage to Perez.
You utter utter bastards. Ugh.
Katie, Big Brother has some news for you. Big Brother is now lifting the curse from you.
Okay, good.
You're free to be yourself again in the house.
Yay, that feels good. I'm happy.
How will you be different in the house now the curse is lifted?
How would I be different? Like, so if I want to go, I'll go. So if someone gets on my tits about being fat and why I'm a grumpy old cow and why I say things to be controversial, then I'm going to go. That's it. I'm done with that.
Katie, your time as the voice of the enchanted mirror and the curse of kindness placed on you by the mirror must remain a secret.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
If it doesn't, there may be terrible consequences.
Earlier, Perez's personal attack of Katie aggravated the house. Katie reacts.
How's your day been?
Mm-hmm. I think there was an idea that the task might be quite fun, or at least something to do, but turned out to be a kind of a deep sink into the abyss of the emotional state that is Perez Hilton, who made himself look like a bit of a dingbat, and I fear he won't recover from that easily. It's so juvenile. Perez and I are destined to not get along for the remainder of our time in the house. Perez is a small fly that I will step on, and he will be removed from this house, hopefully by my hand.
Katie is in the diary room discussing Alicia and Perez.
I cannot understand someone that can go through life, have 2 children and be so stupid. It almost, my core just tenses in agony at the ignorance of her. What concerns me about Perez is, Brits find Americans quite irritating at the best of times. There's a lot of great Americans around. And then you've got a completely irritating American like Perez who epitomises everything that annoys us. I will never bow down to Perez. Never. There will never be a time Perez and I get along, no matter how much he tries to, I'm sorry, I just want to clear the air. No, I am British. I have a sense of humour. I understand sarcasm. I understand irony. I am prepared to tell it like it is. I don't care. If you don't like me, I will stand for hard-working people of Britain. And no, Perez, I will not bow down to you. And no, I will never find you funny. And no, someone with a penis that small should never wear leggings. Know that.
Earlier, Michelle, Cammy and Chloe stood up for Katie's character.
Why do you think that you're not good at taking compliments?
I think probably I'm not so good at taking compliments because, I believe that it's really important to be tough and really important to be strong, and those are the qualities I most admire. And compliments seem like a weakness. Compliments seem like the request of the needy. I just see compliments as belonging to people that need compliments, and I see myself as tougher than that. But obviously I'm not very tough. And probably the other truth is that I know that I'm probably not that bad an egg, really. So, arseholes, you arseholes.
Earlier, Alexander used offensive language after Perez intentionally followed and taunted him. Katie reacts.
Big Brother just thought you might appreciate some time in the diary room.
Do you know what? Probably just as well, because I'm shaking like a thing. Because my normal reaction to do this would be to go and sort this out. But watching somebody taunt a man is upsetting. He just stuck his tongue between that rabbit's ears to taunt Alexander. In the end, he's going to push him too far.
Nominations.
Katie, could you give the name of your first nomination and explain your reasons for this nomination?
My first nomination is for Perez. He is a genital wart on the face of this house. His favourite 3 words are me, myself and I. And I can't live with somebody who fails to bear in mind the feelings, the sensitivities and the needs of others. The crowd chanted, vote Perez out, and here I am. I will vote Perez out, and that's exactly what I intend to do. My second nomination is for Nadia. Nadia represents everything that I loathe on the outside of Big Brother. She is the liberal left. She does believe she knows right from wrong, and she gives Perez a platform from which to speak. Despite Perez's absolute abhorrent behaviour, she still takes time to talk to him, to laugh at his jokes and to find him terribly funny. So for these reasons, I think it's time Nadia left the house.
Today, Perez pressured Big Brother to remove Alexander. Katie Hopkins criticises Perez's supporters in the house.
Another big day in the Big Brother house, and another interesting angle to the experiment, I suppose, is the noble way to see this. The less noble way to see this would be that it's been incredibly frustrating. Perez is an utter despicable human being. I really embrace this idea that we all have different views and we can live on this sort of spectrum of views, and we can be really different on that spectrum. What I find more frustrating is there are people that, like Nadia, who are judge and jury over what is right or wrong, have spent the entire day supporting Perez, and when something really catastrophic happens, like we lose another housemate, which is not acceptable emotionally for us that really liked Alexander, Perez has goaded and taunted and taunted and taunted until the point where Alexander has now chosen to leave. And it's a pity for the rest of us, of course, because we're rather fond of him.
Katie Hopkins receives a task.
I can see myself quite enjoying today, as it will allow me to victimise people that are getting on my nerves with some legitimacy, and I think that's a good thing.
And who might that be?
Alicia. The thought of her being anywhere near anything military that would be of concern to national security. And Perez, clearly, he's going to skip about, and I intend to make his life as difficult as possible all day.
As cadet leader, you will have to set an example and help your cadets behave in a manner appropriate to being a BB cadet. There are 3 golden rules to being a BB cadet. BB cadets must always be appropriately dressed. BB cadets must always try their best. BB cadets must always be honest.
Best dressed, honest. Got it.
Red Pigeon, how are you going to ensure the cadets follow the golden rules?
Well, I guess we'll kick off with an inspection. Then I will obviously bellow at them at periodic intervals, and then I'll try and catch them out.
Katie Hopkins has been spared from facing the public vote that takes place in 2 days.
I don't feel like a sense of triumph over Alicia, because I would assume I would win over Alicia at some level. It doesn't feel like a triumph over Nadia, because Nadia actually, is a kind individual who's cooked for all of us and has been thoroughly diplomatic. Tonight is a triumph for the best of British, and it's a sad catastrophe to Team Twat.
Earlier today the House participated in a debate task. Katie Hopkins gives her thoughts.
The debating task was amusing. I mean, I think it shows... Jesus, this thing's so hairy. I think the debating task just shows, for me, really different elements. So, you've got Michelle, who's got a really good vocabulary, very clear about what she stands for, very clear about the people she represents, the Church of Michelle. Also, of course, you've got eloquence from Nadia, very careful with her words, very passionate. I like that. And she's very clear about what she stands for. If you asked her to tell you 10 things she stands for, she could do that. But where Perez falls down is that he doesn't have that. He's not clear about what he stands for. He doesn't know what he's about. He doesn't have strong views on things. He's just very noisy. So there's just volume and irritation, kind of like being at Glastonbury and having irritable bowels all in one place. And I think that's where the real difference is between us 3 and him.
Earlier Alicia was evicted by the public vote. Katie Hopkins reacts.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm very cross at the general public for not getting Perez out as instructed and as they chant when they're here in the crowd. I can't believe that I'm still stuck in a house, not only with Perez, but with his host, Nadia, who I would get on with independently, but not as a twosome. So this was a bad night for Katie Hopkins. I was sure Alicia would be safe because the public, I always believe, love an underdog, and I was hoping that Alicia, with her kind of spats with me, would have become kind of this underdog character that people wanted to look after. So I thought she would be safe. I suppose the only positive I can take out of it is that Callum's really chuffed with himself because the crowd, as predicted, all screamed and all the young girls went, ooh, ooh.
Nominations.
My first nomination is Patsy. Patsy believes in peace and love. Patsy seems to be incapable of living in the Big Brother house and finding the fun. She can find a lot of peace and love, but frankly I'm a bit tired of living with Yoko Ono dressed as a French onion seller, so I'm done with Patsy. Second nomination is Katie Price. She doesn't side with anybody. She doesn't express a strong opinion. When there's conflict, such as Perez kicking off about something, she won't dive in to try and either calm the situation or inflate it or inflame it or stand by someone or defend someone. You can't always be a peacemaker in this house. I thought Pricey was going to be a colourful character, but sadly she's very Magnolia, apart from a deep and exceptional tan.
In an attempt to lighten the mood earlier, Perez licked Katie Hopkins on the face. Katie gives her thoughts on Perez's return.
How's your evening been?
Well, it was good. And then Patsy got to leave, which was good for Patsy and also good for the rest of us. And then Perez arrived, and then it took a bit of a downturn for the worse. And now Perez seems to be intent on either licking me or doing strange things to me, which isn't so great. And he has said that he hates the British public, and of course I rather like the British public, so I can't see it going too well over the next few days here in the Big Brother house.
Katie, is there anything this evening specifically that Perez has done that you feel crossed the line?
It's absolutely fine. I've no problem with Perez. He is a mere child. He has the mental capacity of a small junior, and he has the eloquence of somebody that writes for the Daily Star. So one can only pity him, I suppose.
Using information he learned during the task, Perez instigated an argument between Katie Hopkins and Nadia, Keith, and Katie Price. Katie Hopkins reflects.
Perez did a relatively good effort at stirring the pot yesterday and gave the information he had gleaned from watching us in the dining room to certain individuals in order to upset them or distress them. The idea of conspiracy is really strong, and the desire to know dark secrets is really compelling for some people. So I think for Cheggers and Pricey, they felt that I was their friend and therefore there were dark secrets to be learned. So they had faces like the back end of a bus this morning, which I largely ignored. So I think people need to get a bit of perspective and recognise that we aren't all friends in the house. We're just in a house together. Checkers is forever reminding us all that it's just a game, it's just a game. But of course it's only just a game up to the point where it actually impacted on him.
You mentioned that Perez did a relatively good effort to stir the pot.
Yeah.
What would you have liked him to do?
If he was smarter, wiser, clever and had read people, he'd know the little things you could do to individuals to kind of trip them over throughout the day. So he could have played his hand better. But he's American, he's crass, he's not that intelligent, so he just threw his cards down and hoped that some of them stuck.
How do you see your position in the house, Katie?
I'm definitely the alpha male of the pride. That's a good role for cuffing the cubs, knocking down the bad behaved ones and getting the lionesses to do what they're told to do. I'm the old haggard old git that tells it straight, that puts people in their place, doesn't take any crap, is prepared to call people out when they're being a twat, is not really interested in looks or how one appears, and I guess can take or leave any of the lionesses, because I'm not really fussed by hair or their jewellery or how they waggle their tail. So I think I'm the alpha male of the pride.
Katie Hopkins gives her thoughts on tonight's eviction.
Nadia definitely held a sort of power. She was a sort of centre of the house in a homely way, because she ran the kitchen. I think for me, with that removed, obviously it removes anything or any support for Perez, so he becomes less significant. I think Nadia leaving is some sort of triumph over Perez. You know, we saw last time there was a nomination, he was there in his furs, naked, with cheese stuff up his nose, very much Perez, the kind of, this is the Perez show. And tonight he's kind of weeping behind a mask. He's taken himself off to bed now. He's not part of the group. He's not joining in. We don't have his irritating laugh. So certainly for me, this is a victory over Perez as well. He's not a good guy. He's very self-obsessed. He is very American, and he is not representative of any kind of person that I would want to be around, hang around, or know in the future. I think the sooner he leaves the house, the better it will be for the rest of us. And there's nothing about him that I find endearing or attractive or can somehow be forgiving towards. I can't forget, and I'm not going to forgive either. And I really can't wait till he leaves, and I will celebrate the fact that he walks up those stairs and walks out of this house.
Katie Hopkins calls out Keith.
When Keith Chegwin's nominated, he turns into a surly, grumpy, rude, obnoxious old man. And we just got a taste of that. Keith Chegwin was nominated, I don't know how many times, and he turned horrible. And the truth of that is, the reason he doesn't like being nominated is because he is determined to win.
Katie Hopkins has caught on to Michelle's paranoia.
Michelle is fixated on hoping to get to the final and still hoping to win, and finds it very challenging that Perez and I are no longer, enemies at each other's throat, and that really grates with her. She was much happier when I was the enemy, and that was okay. But now I'm kind of speaking, she finds that really difficult. I think she finds it a bit of a threat to her place in the final, and she's very concerned about whether she'll make it to the final or not. So that's absorbing her whole mindset at the moment. So in a way, I can kind of, for the first time probably in the house, identify with Perez. Alarming.
Katie Hopkins reflects on how Big Brother may have affected her image.
And it is properly uncomfortable. People keep asking me downstairs, you all right, everything okay? I haven't just cured cancer. I haven't just sorted something out for my family in a big way. I haven't just made someone's life better. I haven't only just got into the final with 4 other people that are kind of averagely kind people. So I have got this in perspective. But it is very, very awkward for me, and I don't want people to interpret that as ingratitude, because there is gratitude that people took the time to pick up a phone or go online or whatever. But it is just a very awkward space, because I just haven't shared this pyjama-clad nice person before, and I'm just kind of uncomfortable with the results of sharing that person. If I sat here in a suit with my head done like Princess Anne, I'd be the Katie I rely on, that carries me through stuff. It's ridiculous. I'm just better being a big old bruiser. I'm not very good at sharing the softer side of me, and actually, if people are nice to me, I just don't quite know how to deal with that, because then I'm not tough Katie, and then perhaps I can't deal with all the stuff I need to deal with properly. It's pathetic. It's really pathetic.
Earlier, Kavanagh and Perez were evicted. The finalists are Callum, Keith, Katie Hopkins, Katie Price, and Michelle.
I walked in here as the most hated candidate ever to walk into a Big Brother house. And perhaps I might leave here not so hated, and that's quite a peculiar idea.
Has the twisted fairy tale lived up to everything you hoped it would?
No, it's been shit.
Yes!
Brother,
you
sorry, go on.
For those of us who've been here from day one, no
Is that a dig again, Michelle?
No offense,
They
Frankie.
keep digging at me
But-
because you brought me in 10 days late.
Listen,
it's not my fault.
listen, bitch, shut up!
And I'm still here, so deal
Oh my
with it.
God!